The Ngozi Cadmus Show presents the bridge between faith, entrepreneurship, and leadership. My name is Ngozi Cadmus, and I'm a mental health and leadership expert. I represent the average woman and equip women of faith to walk in their divine calling, master their thoughts, and love themselves so that they can level up spiritually, mentally, and financially. Welcome to the Ngozi Cadmus Show, and I am your host, Ngozi Cadmus. Hey, this is episode 11. Guys, you've been riding with me for 11 weeks. Well done. I thank you and I congratulate you. So I wanted to talk about why Black women leaders matter. Yeah, why Black women leaders matter. They should matter to you, they matter to me, and they matter to society. So, essentially, for those that do not know, I am completing my doctoral postgraduate, and my topic is on what are the success determinants of Black women leaders in the mental health space. Hey, I know it sounds interesting, right? You're thinking, tell me more. I have to leave that for another podcast. If you want to hear more of that, then comment in the chat box on YouTube and let me know so that I can probably do another podcast on my doctoral experience as a Black female researcher. So, why Black women leaders matter, right? I'm saying why. I'm not asking a question. I'm not saying why do Black women leaders matter. I'm saying why Black women leaders matter. I'm making a statement. A statement is why Black women leaders matter, because they do matter. Why do they matter? So I'm setting the scene. We all lived through this. 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, should I say, we had a global pandemic. And not only did we have the global pandemic, we had the unfortunate demise of George Floyd. And eruption of the Black Lives Matter organization really on the forefront, whatever you agree with what's happened now, but on the forefront in raising specifically police brutality to the front. But that shed light to companies around the world, especially in the Western world, in how are they managing, handling, attracting, supporting, caring for their Black workforce. Is there even enough Black people in certain positions? Right? So in the United Kingdom, and according to the UK census done in 2011, the 2021 or 2021, whenever that was done, is not out yet. Right? Black women make up 63.6 of the 2.9 BAME women working. So the 2.9 BAME, which includes anything non-white essentially, Black women make up 63.6% of the group. So what that basically means, we make a very large majority of the working women in the workforce, but it is a shame that in the senior leadership positions, we do not reflect that diversity. Right, you have a situation where the workforce itself, the people that do the thing, right, the people on the ground at the entry levels, right, are trying to be represented, and I think we've done better in having a more diverse and representative workforce. But we're really lagging behind when it comes to leadership positions. And leadership positions, depending on different sectors, are usually those at the top. So those are the ones steering the decisions at the top, which includes CEO, CTO, COO, the executive board, usually in a corporate, but that can also include the chief execs, and the founders and CEOs, all of that in the charity sector and then in the public sector. You sometimes have you kind of have the same terminology, or director of, it's usually director that they're usually called in like the public sector kind of sense, or they've got specific names if it's like in the police force and stuff. Essentially, you rarely have black women at the top there. It's like black women lag, right? And now some people can say, oh yeah, but black men, also Asian women. I am not denying that. I'm not denying that there's similarities across the board with other ethnic minority ethnic groups, right? But I'm specifying black women because that's what my research is on, and that is my main work in my consultancy, although I work across the black and Asian population. Yeah, so there's an underrepresentation of black women in leadership positions, right? Under Financial Times Stock Exchange, so the FTSE 100, there is no black women on board. Actually, I think there's actually no black anything. But there's no black women on board, right? And that's of the last year or two. So, and I guess one of the difficulties is that when they use the word BAME, some of you may not know, BAME stands for Black, I think it's Black African Minority Ethnic, or is it Black Asian Minority Ethnic? BME stands for Black Minority Ethnic. And when you actually look at the composition of what BME or BAME stands for, it includes travellers, it includes white Irish, I don't know if it includes white other, but it basically is non-white British people. So that means when you're saying BAME could be a white person of a different country, or maybe you call it ethnicity. It could be a white person in race, but they are from Ireland, or they're from Spain potentially, or they're from Poland. You're just thinking, wait a minute, then they're not an ethnic minority. They might be a minority, cultural minority, but they're not an ethnic minority. So it really is important that we do not homogenize all races that are considered a minority. I think nowadays we're saying that the global majority, because the global majority is actually African and Asian. Asia and Africa are the biggest population in the world, right? So we're nowadays saying a global majority rather than saying a minority, because we want to say we're not actually a minority, we're just a minority in this part of the world. So the reality is black women experience exclusions. We experience unique barriers because of our intersection between being a black and a woman. When you think about leadership, typically you think of a white male. That's just facts, because the biggest organizations, the biggest global organizations are run by white male. So in research and in the psychology of it, what we call the prototype, the leadership prototype, is a white male. Black women, Asian women are usually furthest away from that prototype. The closest to it is white women, because they may be a woman, but they're white. Then also black men, because they are men. They identify with the men. So when you are the furthest away from the prototype, then you face unique barriers that you have to navigate and overcome in order to cross that threshold. If you're willing and happy to stay below the executive ladder, so you stay right below, then that's fine. But if you want to go into unbalanced spaces that historically kept us out, but now you know and understand that if they don't give you the seat to the table, you bring your folding chair. I love that quote, right? You open that door and you bring the table, because you are the table. At the end of the day, if we are not in these spaces, I call them unbalanced spaces, right? Non-diverse spaces, the decisions that are made in those rooms, the resolutions that are made in those rooms do not have your input, do not have your influence. So therefore, the impact of that will affect you and the community you're part of. And if they are not in your favor, then we're in a situation where we're fighting against an institution, against structures that we are not in power to beat. So we are important because if you do not have a diverse range of people on a board that makes decisions, you cannot think like a black person. You cannot think like an Asian person, because you're not that. I can't think of like a white person. I'm not that. I can think. My thinking is not anything less than theirs. But the way my lens, for example, I'm being videoed by Canon lens. My lens has been informed by my experiences, and my experiences are informed by the relationship between me and society, and I'm a black woman. So how I move and act and operate, that doesn't mean that I have to be defined by everything, by every, what they call it, minority status or subordinate position or social identity. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is there needs to be an understanding that what a black person can bring, what a black female can bring, what a black male can bring, what an Asian male and woman can bring. Because at the end of the day, it creates a diversity of thought and diversity of perspective, especially because, you know, we live in a globalized society where you are not just trying to target one white audience. You're trying to target men and women from different races and ethnicities. So you need people from those races and ethnicities so that you can be able to speak the language in your products or your services. It's likewise if you go to Africa, if you can't speak the language, if you can't speak maybe French in a French-speaking African country, so a francophone country, then it's going to be hard to do business. If you go to Nigeria, though English is an official language and everyone can speak it, there are nuances. There are things you do and you don't do. And if you don't understand that, you'll be offending people without knowing. So you probably will either learn it, or typically you'll get somebody from that region that can represent the company's values and objectives. So it's common sense, really, in all honesty, to have a diverse team. And there is no longer an excuse that if we don't have a diverse leadership because we don't have a diverse workforce, then you've got two issues there. What's happening with your talent pipeline? Why are you not attracting a diverse range of talent? If the whole idea is to attract the best people for the job, are you saying that only white people are the best for the job? Are you saying that? You're most likely not saying that. What you are saying is that you want whatever the race of the person, whatever the gender of the person to fill this job. But you have to be aware that if you're working in a way that's only attracting a certain pool of people, then you have to do something different to attract other groups of people. It's common sense. If I like grime, I like Afrobeats, I love hip hop, I love my worship. But if you put a folklore music, I'm not going to be there. It will attract people that like folklore. If you put a hip hop event, a grime event, an Afrobeat event, it attracts people that like that music. It's not that difficult. Now, you're not going to put an Afrobeat event on an event kind of website that is typically catered to a particular industry. You're going to put Afrobeat events on a lot of urban websites, a lot of black websites, and then obviously global websites in general, but you're going to put them in places where you're going to have a lot of black people see it, or people that like that music, but typically are black, or people from what they call the urban scene or whatever. So it's not too difficult to do. It's just, are you willing to do it? If you're an employer, are you willing to do that? If you're an employee, is your employer willing to attract more talent? If you're the only black person in your team and you're happy with that, then that's an issue. Well done to get to the position that you're in, but don't you want more diverse faces? I'm not saying you want black for the black's sake. I'm saying, don't you want more highly skilled black people in similar positions as you, so that the workforce is more diverse, and you're also just giving more opportunity to people that deserve it, right? Oh, I forgot to say who I am. My name is Ngozi Cadmus. I'm a mental health and leadership expert, and I provide black and brown coaches to companies who need my work to help them identify and train their black talent, their brown talent, to ensure that the talent pipeline is unclogged, and we can really see what is going on with why black people are there and not there, and what are the skills that they are lacking that I can help upskill them so they can enter into these senior leadership roles. I could say more. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'll do more conversations around this on specific areas, because I'm really, really passionate about this. Really, really passionate about this. So, like, share, comment, subscribe for the YouTube folks, and for the podcast. I've got regular listeners on podcasts. I really appreciate you. I would love if you could share it. I think you can do that as well on podcast. You can share it via WhatsApp. I would really appreciate if you can put a review on my podcast, both Spotify and Apple. It'll be good so that people can see that this is a good podcast to listen to. And if you're enjoying it, rate it, review it, and share it. And can't wait to see you in the next video and have more conversations. Thank you. Bye.